Hi, welcome to Teach Start, and today we're going to be looking at the subtle teacher, and this is an area that, again, and a lot of my videos are on these kind of areas. They're kind of things that aren't necessarily added to the training. Sometimes they are, but a lot of times they're not. And they're things I see as so important, and I wish every trainee covered these things. So that this is kind of the purpose of these videos, is to fill in the gaps. And to make the theory a practice, because I've been teaching for over 10 years, so I absolutely have tried pretty much everything. As a teacher, you've never tried everything, so I know the successes and failures of each, and this is so important. NVC, or non-verbal communication, is critical in your classroom. In all areas, but I will focus more on behaviour management today, because I think it's where you can get the most gains the quickest. So you're up in the class, up at the front of the classroom, and you've got your PowerPoint behind you, and someone's talking, and you've done your 3-2-1s, which I've talked about in the previous video, and one person's talking to another person. What do? Well, you don't, as we've talked in previous videos, you don't say, Jimmy, stop talking, Jimmy, stop talking. Barrier straight away between me and Jimmy. Jimmy can't step down then, because I've challenged him. I've laid the gauntlet to Jimmy. Jimmy now must fight back, otherwise he's seen as weak in front of his peers, and that's not good. Jimmy doesn't want that. Now, Jimmy could be a type of person who backs down, or he could be a type of person which then it escalates. Whose fault is that for it escalating? Well, on paper Jimmy's, but really, at the end of the day, when I'm evaluating that lesson, it's my fault. It's my fault that I let that situation happen, because I challenged Jimmy and Jimmy then challenged me back, because that's what Jimmy's like. And I knew that going in, that Jimmy would challenge me back. Did I know that? Maybe. Did I consciously know that at the time? Maybe. As a teacher, sometimes you challenge students because they know they'll challenge you back, and then the behaviour system kicks in. And either we move Jimmy out of the classroom, or Jimmy gets a sanction, and that's not right. If you know that someone's going to get a sanction for what you're saying, that is not right. Even though on paper it is right, and even though on paper a school will pat you on the back and say you've dealt with that really well, if someone's in that classroom observing that, they would say the same as I do, hopefully. If they're decent, they will say the same as I do, that you could have dealt with that situation better. Now, what's frustrating is they say you could have dealt with that better, but they sometimes don't give you what better is, and this is what this video is about. Don't mention Jimmy. Don't say his name. Don't challenge him publicly in the classroom. Just give him a look. It's all it takes. All it takes a lot of the time is to give Jimmy a look. Sometimes you need to escalate the look. Sometimes you need to, perhaps, and depending on the circumstances, walk over to the desk and just lightly tap the desk. Not like fist down on the desk, just lightly tap the desk. Okay? And I've seen some teachers tap on the back, and I don't do that. I don't, I'm a secondary teacher, you don't touch the students at all. Some teachers do, and it's not something I'm comfortable with, but I just gently tap the desk so he knows, I'm kind of wanting to teach. And it's not challenging him, it's not me versus him. And in the rare situation that he then sees that as a challenge, I say, well, Jimmy, what are you talking about? I just want silence. Are you giving me silence with the rest of the class or whatever? Like, it's non-confrontational. It's talking about what I want from the class. So what are my success rates with NVC, with not saying things, with not going, put that down? Even if you don't say their name, it's still challenging them. Very, very high. Very, very high. And especially when you've got a good relationship with the class, it can be incredibly, almost work 100% of the time with just a look when you get to that point. It doesn't mean that you can't ever challenge them. You can't ever, have a talk with them, ask them to wait outside in the more severe circumstances. It doesn't mean that there isn't a next step. It just means you mop up 90% of the issues, 95% of the issues, and a lot of the time 100% of the issues, when you've established this, without having to go to the next step. And using non-verbal communication is so much quicker because there's not a conversation, there's not an argument, there's not this, there's not that. It's just a look. And every teacher has a different personality. Every teacher will do that differently. And that's why maybe trainers shy away from it, because it is so bespoke, it is so personal how you deal with it. But I think that when you get it right, and when you've honed it, and when you understand how you can do it as a teacher, and essentially it's just not saying anything, it's just looking, and that's what it is. How you interpret that and what you do, and like sometimes, you know, you might decide instead of standing in the middle of the room, just to stand to the side and be in the same kind of row or column or whatever as they are, or you might wander just aimlessly around the classroom, or you know, there might be a different way for each teacher, and you might need to try a few out and see whether there's any kind of success. It's very difficult to rate yourself against this, because until you've got the classroom in a good state, and until there's kind of a good relationship between you and the students going on, you know, these sort of things aren't going to work straight away. And so you've got to persevere to some degree. You know, obviously if you're in your 4th, 5th week and it's just not having an effect at all, then you need to really think about how you use your NVC. But it is a really powerful tool, and I am a massive advocate of it. I hope you've enjoyed that video. Please click like if you have. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. Thank you very much. Oh, before you go, you can subscribe to us here, and this is our previous video, and this is another video from us. We release videos every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday at 5 o'clock. Thank you very much.